Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to do a beer that's half Swedish, half English, and both breweries that are involved here have a really good reputation, so I'm certainly looking forward to having a wee taste of this beer and seeing how we get on. So for the English side we're going to go to the Buxton Brewery in Buxton in Derbyshire in England, and for the Swedish side we're going to go to Dugges Bryggeri, who are from Landvetter just outside of Gothenburg over in Sweden. So yeah, it should be a really awesome beer, but this one is an IPA. It comes in at 7.2% and it is called Ramberget. So yeah, I think this one has Simcoe, Centennial, and I believe it was Matuka that's in it, so some really nice kind of lemon-limey qualities I reckon we're going to get from this, and a little bit of passion fruit, but it looks like fruit from the bottle. You can see the haze through it, so I think it is going to be a New England IPA. It comes in at 7.2%. On Untappd, this one I believe had a 3.8 when I did a quick Google of it, and on Rate Beer it had a 94 from what I can remember too, but it should be a really nice beer. I've heard a lot of good things about this one, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. I'm certainly looking forward to having a taste of it for you. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the breweries involved here. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done both from Dugges Bryggeri and from Buxton Brewery. No doubt I will add some more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city or state, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there both for my Swedish beer reviews and another one for the English beer reviews. Both are being constantly added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to the Buxton Brewery first then. So as I've told you before, the Buxton Brewery are based in Buxton, which is a spa town in Derbyshire in England, and this brewery was founded originally back in 2010 by Jeff Quinn, and for a long period of time it was operating with a staff of only 5 different people. But the local area is known as the Peak Districts, and of course it's famed for its water as well, which apparently has been revered since Roman times. Apparently the Romans named Buxton as Aqua Arnimetea, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this translates into English from Latin as the waters of the goddess of spring. But most of their beers are named after local geographical and geological features in the area, and the tower that's depicted on most of these labels that you'll get for Buxton, not on this one of course because it is a collaboration beer, this is the Solomon's Temple or the Grinlow Tower, which was actually a folly tower which was simply built for decoration of course. But the Buxton beers have won many different accolades. The brewery's been consistently ranked in the top 100 breweries in the world by Rate Beer, of course the famous peer reviewing site, and at full capacity they can produce over 60,000 litres of beer per month, and their beers are now exported to around 30 different countries or something like that. Those figures may well be out of date, but it was only last year I'm sure that I actually got a hold of them, so they could still well be right. But Buxton Brewery are one of the English breweries that you definitely want to have a go at. I do need to try and do a dedicated review to them. As far as I can remember, it's only actually collaboration beers that I've done involving Buxton so far, so I do need to make sure that I get a kind of a regular beer, like a dedicated review to Buxton at some point in the future. I think I've been saying that for a little while, but I will make sure and do it over the next year or so and try and get one of their own beers. But a really good brewery, and all the beers that I've had involved in them have been pretty damn good, so I do need to make sure and get that kind of dedicated review done. But if you're interested in English craft beer, Buxton Brewery is one that you definitely want to check out. So that's all you need to know about Buxton Brewery just now. As I say, the brewery Facebook page and their website and stuff are in the description below, so if you want to learn a little bit more you can check that out. Anyway, on to the brewery notes for Dugges Bryggeri then. So as I've told you many a time, Dugges Bryggeri are based in Landvetter, which is on the outskirts of Gothenburg, Göteborg as you would say in Swedish, on the west coast of Sweden. But this brewery of course are these guys. My computer's going crazy at the moment, I don't know what's going on, my brewery notes anyway. But the brewery was established back in 2005 in Mölndal by Mikael Engström Dugge, and their beers entered Systembolaget back in 2007, and of course due to the kind of boom that there's been in Swedish craft beer in recent years, they very quickly outgrew their original home, so they had to move over to Landvetter, which is out to the east. I think it's to the southeast of Gothenburg if I'm remembering correctly. But the older brewery had a capacity of 1500 hectolitres per year, and they used their old brew kit in developing the new beer. So their old brew kit that they have, I believe, is still used as their kind of pilot brewery, if you like, for doing their small batch things. And I think a lot of those go to the Brewers Bar in Gothenburg as well. I'm sure Dugges Bryggeri actually have a hand in running that Brewers Bar over there. But their new brewery is equipped with a larger kit, and it has a capacity of 8,000 hectolitres per year in total, I believe. But they may have expanded that beyond then. From what I gather, Dugges Bryggeri actually brew a lot of the big imperial stouts for Omnipollo and things like that as well. Omnipollo, of course, are based up in Stockholm, but they do tend to be a gypsy brewery. Buxton, of course, actually brew some of the Omnipollo beers as well, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's what's brought these two breweries together to kind of collaborate in the first place, would be the guys from Omnipollo. But as I say, Dugges Bryggeri, they're particularly well known for their imperial stouts. The Idiot is kind of a sort of staple beer, if you like, in Sweden. It's one of the really good imperial stouts that you're going to find, and of course they do some really nice kind of sour and fruit beers as well. One of my favourite sour beers that I ever had was actually from Dugges Bryggeri as well. It was called the Mango Mango Mango, and it was just really, really nicely done. So if you get the chance to try some of these Dugges beers, I'm sure you will enjoy them, and they are one of the Swedish breweries that are more widely exported these days, behind the likes of Omnipollo and stuff like that as well. So if you're interested in Swedish beer, Dugges Bryggeri is a really good place to start. So as I say, you've got two breweries involved in this beer that have a very good reputation that they've earned rightly anyway. So yeah, two really good breweries involved in this one. Try beers from either of them, and I'm sure you'll have a very good experience. But anyway, on to this beer itself. So as I mentioned to you at the start of the video, this one is a 7.2% IPA. It was brewed with Simcoe, I think it was Centennial, and also Matuika hops, so mainly American ones, but then Matuika is of course from New Zealand. And yeah, it should be a really interesting one. I've heard some very good things about this. My friend Andreas Tullgren from Ulricehamn in Sweden was telling me this is one of the beers that I really need to try. This, I think, was in one of the small partiers in Sweden in Systembolaget a little while ago. I'm just checking on the camera control that you can actually see this. But yeah, there you can see the nice kind of the nice eagle on that, actually, that's kind of shaped into the mountain. That's really cool, actually. I do really like the artwork on this one. This one is a 330ml bottle, and I actually got this beer, I think it was over in at the Key store in Crossgates, because the guy over there does some really nice little craft beers. He's really into his craft beer. There you can see a plain bottle cap on this one. So without further ado, let's get it out and get on with the taste. And I'm certainly looking forward to having a go at this guy. Yep, as I said, 3.8 I think it was on Untappd when I checked it out, and it had, I think, a 94 on Rate Beer when I did a quick Google before the video. But yeah, as you can see, that looks like a proper kind of New England style IPA, this one. I really love the eagle, or the bird. I think it's an eagle anyway. I love the bird that's on the artwork in that one. It looks really nice. But as you can see, and as you would expect, I think that probably gives you the idea that it is going to be a sort of New England style IPA. It's quite a bright, kind of hazy golden yellow. This one, there's a solid half finger of a frothy, I would say, perfect white head. It doesn't even have a little bit of a kind of creaminess to it. And I'll tell you something, right away with this beer, you can smell the Centennial on this. The Centennial always gives you this really nice kind of lemony quality, and you can smell that right away with this beer. It just jumps straight out at you, to be honest. But it looks really, really nice. You can see that. If I put my fingers behind the glass, completely hazy, and I think it's fair to say that this beer almost just looks like kind of peach juice or something like that. I think that's probably a good descriptor of the colour of this one. It just looks like a bit of peach juice or something like that. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, of course, and a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there. But overall, you know, it looks pretty nice. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and just see how we get on. Oh yeah, it's a really interesting one, that you can smell some of these nice juicy fruits, which I'm guessing will be coming from the Matuika. One of the things I've always said about the New Zealand hops since I've been doing videos, and since I was down there and trying a lot of their IPAs, the New Zealand hops have this really kind of distinctive, juicy, fruity quality to them, and it's different from the American hops. The American hops, I find, tend to have this really kind of bitter kick to them, if you like, but the New Zealand ones, for me, tend to be a little bit more kind of juicy and everything like that. And for me, the Matuika, you can really smell that juicy note on this beer, but at the same time, the Centennial has that really distinctive kind of lemony quality to it, and you can also smell that kind of coming out of this beer. But there's a good bit of lime in this one. The Matuika tends to give you, from what I remember, it tends to give you this really nice sort of limey note, and this beer definitely has that kind of lemon lime quality, and there's almost a little bit of a kind of melony note to it as well, which is quite interesting. When you sugar it up, of course, you get a little bit of a kind of passion fruity and almost pineapple note as well, which I'm guessing will be the Simcoe that they've put in the beer. But for me, it's more of a lemon limey quality that's coming out of this one, which is really interesting, and a bit of that melon. It's a really interesting kind of combination of fruits, this one. So as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck in. But when you sugar it up, you can get a little bit of a kind of sort of oaty, kind of white bready quality to it as well. It's got a little bit of a biscuity sweetness in the malt base as well. But yeah, it's got a really nice... Yeah, I think definitely that, to me, there's a bit of melon in this one. It's got a little bit of a kind of melon note. Lemon lime's dominating the fruity side of things for me. And there's a wee bit of a sort of passion fruity kind of pineapple-y note as well. It's got a nice tropical fruit backbone, but it's got a kind of lemon limey quality to it as well, which is really interesting. And you can, of course, you get a little bit of that grassy kind of floral note to it, but for me it leans more towards the kind of nice grassy side of things rather than anything else. But as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma coming off of this one, and just before you taste it. But let's get stuck into this beer anyway. So this one is the Ramberget, a 7.2% IPA, a collaboration between the Buxton Brewery down in Derbyshire in England and Dugges Bryggeri, who are from Landvetter over near Gothenburg in Sweden. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål. Spilling a little bit down my hand there, but I'll tell you right away, that's a pretty damn nice beer, I have to say. You know, you wouldn't expect anything less when you've got these two breweries involved, to be honest, but you know, it's really nicely done, this one. If you get the chance to try this beer, definitely just have a go at it. Yeah, the malt base on this one is really smooth, and the way the hops come out is really, really nice as well. So the malt base is kind of pretty much as you'd expect. You can feel a little bit of that kind of pale malt character just blanketing the middle of your tongue. As that kind of mellows out a little bit, you can feel the kind of oaty smoothness, that almost creamy quality just coming out in the middle of your palate too. And if you go right down the centre of your tongue, you can feel there's a little line of an almost biscuity sweetness to this one, but it's really nicely done. But yeah, I like how that beer comes across. The malt base is just, I like how it goes together. But the thing is, you've got a real contrast in this beer for me. This one's got quite a nice spicy floral aromatic quality to it, and from what I remember, that'll be the Centennial. The Centennial, it has that really nice almost lemon sherbety quality, but then it's got this really quite spicy, almost peppery floral aromatic note that comes out of it as well. So there's a nice contrast between that kind of smooth, very slightly sweet malt base in this one, and that nice spicy note that you get from the Centennial. I do like it when you get beers like that have got two kind of things almost vying for them. Of course, beers that are very well blended in that sense can be really nice as well, but at the same time, it's always good to have something that's got two quite contrasting flavours to it. But it's really well done, this one. As I say, you wouldn't expect anything less from either of these breweries. So on the hoppy side of things, back corners of the palate, you've got a little bit of earthiness in there. As you come further forward along the sides of the tongue, there's a nice quite spicy floral aromatic note. Then round the very front curve of the palate, there's a nice lighter kind of grassy quality to this beer, but the spicy notes on this one, they're almost a little bit peppery, to be quite honest with you, which is really nice. But when you go behind the front curve of the palate, of course, that's where the fun starts with these hops. That's when you start to get a little bit of that's where you get that little oily bubble, where those nice fruity esters start to come out of the beer. So for me with this one, you're getting a little bit of a kind of passion fruity note, and that's the Simcoe. You can feel the passion fruit just forming the base of this beer, and on top of that, that's when you start to get the kind of lemon limey qualities that you expect both of the Centennial and of the Motueka as well. The lemony quality, that lemon sherbety quality, I think is coming from the Centennial, but then the Motueka hop starts to give you a little bit of the more kind of limey qualities. I always find the Motueka, from what I remember, gives you some nice kind of almost pineapple-y, limey qualities. But then the Centennial has this really quite sharp, spicy, lemony note. such a good beer, that. I'd love to try this on tap. It'd be nice to have a pint of this one. It's 7.2% though. The question is over sessionability, and I think you could. This is one of these beers that you could easily drink lots of and not realise how much alcohol you're actually taking in. These New England IPAs are a little bit dangerous for that, I have to say. I think definitely in terms of style, I should have pointed that out as well. It's 100% a New England style IPA. This one, you can taste the kind of oaty qualities in the malt base of this beer. You can feel that right in the middle of your palate. But yeah, as I was saying, as the flavour kind of mellows out a little bit, it's that limey quality that kind of lingers there. I'm not getting the melon, of course, that I was picking up in the aroma. The aroma is a little bit melony, but what I would say is there's almost a little bit of a kind of orangey or maybe mandarin kind of flavour. It's maybe got a little bit of that kind of more sharp flavour that you'd expect. There is definitely a little bit of an orangey quality, I think, in the flavour of this one, which is quite surprising considering the hops. But I would say the passion fruit's definitely there. You can feel just behind the front curve of your tongue that slightly darker passion fruit flavour. That's forming the base of this beer, and as it kind of mellows out, that sort of strong lemony quality that the beer has as well starts to push its way out more. That, of course, like I was saying, is from the Centennial, and that lime note lingers as well. But I think there's a little bit of an almost orangey quality coming out of this one too, but not too much. As I say, the main contenders, if you like, when it comes to the fruit in this beer, it's definitely the passion fruit. The lemony qualities there. I think the lemon's probably even the most prominent one actually, and some of the limey qualities start to come out as you move further and further into the aftertaste. But it's a really well done beer, this one. And as I said a number of times in this video, when you've got these two breweries involved, you are going to get something of good quality, and you can expect that when they put their name on the beer. In terms of the mouthfeel of this one then, I would say it's mid-bodied. Carbonation's quite smooth in this one. The mouthfeel's really well balanced. It's got a little bit of that kind of creamy quality that you'd expect from a New England IPA, but it's got a little bit of the oiliness too. There's a good hoppy bitterness to this one actually. That kind of spicy floral aromatic note that I was talking about, particularly from the Centennial, is giving this beer. I think that's pushing the IBUs of this beer up a little bit. By no means is it going to blow your head off in terms of the IBUs, I think, but I'm pretty sure, just guessing from this one, I would say it's maybe up there around 60, 70 IBUs or something like that. It has got a good bit of bitterness to it because of the Centennial mainly, but the fruity character to this one's nice and juicy. It's got a really interesting balance, as I say, passion fruit, lemon and lime. There's a really interesting mix of things going on in there, and the malt base has a nice little bit of sweetness as well. But overall, it's a really nice IPA, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. One of the things that's always a sad thing about the craft beer world is when you get collaborations like this that work really well, you might well only see them once. But I do hope that either brewery can decide to brew this beer again. It would be quite cool to see them keep doing this one, because it is a really nice beer, and I think that's a hop blend that you're not going to see too often. I mean, you'll see Centennial and Simcoe go together, but for Motueka to be brought into the equation as well, the New Zealand hops can be a little bit expensive for the European breweries to get a hold of, so I would hope that at some point in the future they will brew this beer again, because it's quite an unusual hop blend, but it's certainly, on the basis of this beer, it certainly does work. So yeah, I think that's a good place to kind of end this review just now. I think I'm kind of rambling on a little bit, but it's a really nice New England IPA, and I'd recommend that you have a go at it if you get the chance. The Motueka, the Simcoe and the Centennial that are in this beer, they work very, very well together. If you like lemon, limey flavours, I think you're certainly going to enjoy this beer. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are, both from Dugges Bryggeri and from Buxton Brewery as well. I do need to make sure I do a dedicated review to Buxton at some point in the near future, but I definitely look forward to reviewing more beers from both, and this one certainly has turned out really nicely. So until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. As I say, let me know your own thoughts on this beer, check out my social media and all of that, but make sure you have a go at the Ramberget from both of these breweries. It's done very, very nicely, and make sure, if you're interested in Swedish beer, have a look at the Dugges beers. They're really good for imperial stouts and for fruit beers as well, and Buxton Brewery are one of these breweries that are just very solid all around. So once again, thank you for watching. Until the next time, it's Slanja just now. The Ramberget, a New England IPA at 7.2% from Buxton Brewery in Derbyshire in England, and Dugges Brewery from Landvetter just near Gothenburg in Sweden. Slanja, skål.